you see them walking down, picking up the sidewalk, acting like they can whip everybody. Sure, they can whip somebody who looks just like them, because that's permitted. Permitted by whom? The white supremacists. They don't care. Kill everybody in the neighborhood. So what? There's another black neighborhood gone. There's another one down the street, ready to go. What's the big deal? You better be careful about whose face you get into when you get carried away with what you can do to other black people. And what's pitiful about it is most of us know that. Very few of us who don't know that. We know whose face to get into. And we know just about how much backing we have.
Shame. Shame.
Black person in handcuffs. All kinds of tattoos. All kinds of long record of being able to whip everybody since ninth grade. Standing there in handcuffs in an orange jumpsuit in his best hairdo saying, "Yes, Your Honor." Why don't you use the kind of language toward Your Honor that you use with the people that you encounter right there in your neighborhood? The one that you say that you're a master over. The one that you can terrorize. All the females flocking to you and halfway scared of you. Knock them around all over the place. Call them all kind of names. Why don't you call Your Honor that same name? Snatch him from behind the bench. No. See, we're great show people. Greatest show people on earth. 3 9mm, one in your sock, one in your waistband, one in your side pocket. Ready to take on the entire world in a movie. In a homemade video. Or passing a bus stop full of black people fixing to go to work. Or you can terrorize them. Why don't you take on the champ? Which usually is just one or two white supremacists who just come and say, "Now, I think you'd better behave because you're disturbing my peace. Now, if you don't think I can handle you, try me." And I haven't been on this planet forever. I've never seen a situation on a large scale, or never heard of one on a large scale, of any significance throughout the history of the black male, because that's who I'm talking about, who didn't chicken out in a moment of real crisis. So I don't want to hear it in this stalwart Black History Month about that all-powerful black male. As I've seen our record, particularly in the last, I'll say, just in this area of the world, 60 years. And we've had a few who did things the way that they ought to be done. They protested in the street. They carried signs. They talked about non-justice. Martin Luther King, people like that. Annie Lou Hamer, as a black female, backing up black males who got out there and tried to do something that made sense, rather than just terrorize the neighbors. And that's doing what we're supposed to do from the weak position that we have. Only time we show all this bravery is when we are mistreating are the victims of racism. For the most part, some exceptions, some exceptions, Nelson Mandela, exception, Martin Luther King, exception, Malcolm X, exception. A substantial list, but well spaced, well spaced. All those black males in between, usually the ones who are doing hard time. If you look at what they are charged with, most of it is mistreating, whether they're guilty or not, but most of it is for mistreating other prisoners of war, the race war, people that look like themselves, can't stand themselves and want to kill everything that looks like them and laugh about it and call it an accomplishment. Now, I harp on this because this is one thing that should be real passe. As they say in the hip-hop culture, I think they call it whack. That's really whack. I think that's what they call it. Makes no sense at all and has been embraced in every generation. Didn't just start. Far back as I can remember. Black male carrying the Saturday night razor. I'm going to cut me somebody before the night's over. Oh, yeah. Who are you going to cut? Who are you going to cut, Jimmy? Who are you going to cut, Mac? Well, I'm going over to the dance hall. Who's in the dance hall, Mac? I'm going to cut me somebody who breaks bad over at the dance hall. Who is it that's going to break bad in the dance hall, Mac? Well, somebody that looks like me. Somebody I probably went to school with before I dropped out. And they dropped out. So we meet up 18 years later, and we slash each other to death in the alley. And that's supposed to be a big deal and the purpose for being on the planet. Now, there are millions of black people who think just like that. And they are not all just in this area of the world. They're south of here, in places like Brazil. They look forward to that kind of foolishness. It's an old black tradition while we're talking about black history. That's a huge part of black culture. It needs to stop, and it needs to stop as of tonight. We need to do some thinking. And then say enough of that. Been there, done that. Forget it. No more gang tattoos. I mean, who are we fooling? Who can we really whip? A very limited number of people. And certainly nobody who is smarter and more powerful than we are, particularly somebody who is really an army. A system of white supremacy. You know anything about taking that on? No, nothing. Zero. Better start tap dancing.